Okay, why don't y'all go ahead and see if you can do the warm-up on your own. This is just what we all did yesterday. And if you'll just pause it, I'll go ahead and work it out. So, I'm going to explain this really quickly. This is negative pi over 4, because I'm going to go left pi over 4. But just thinking ahead about the fact that I need to move by pi over 8 for my critical point, I'm going to go ahead and label this as negative 2 pi over 8. So when I move by pi over 8, now I'm at negative pi over 8. And then I'd be at 0, pi over 8, and 2 pi over 8. So my first cycle will end at 2 pi over 8. This will be 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, 5 pi over 8, 6 pi over 8. Okay, and down 2, that's my sinusoidal. Down 3 from that, so that'll be negative 5. And up 3 will be positive 1. So sine starts in the middle, and then it's going to go from the middle. The reflection will cause it to go down, middle, top, middle, down, middle, top, middle. And that's it. All right. So what we're doing today is finding the equation of the graph and then stating the domain and range and the vertical distance. So notice it tells you to use a sine graph. I am going to tell you which one to do, because if you look at this trig function, sine is this S shape. So you could do this as your S shape, or you could do this as your S shape. So that would be for the sine graph. But the reason why I have to tell you this is because there's also possibilities of a cosine answer. So you could have said, well, this U right here is a cosine answer. So that's not wrong. It's just, it's wrong for the question that I'm asking. Since I specifically say a sine graph, you're going to use a sine graph. Yet you still have the choice. Like I said, you could use this S, or you could use this S. You just want to use an S that you can see completely. So I'll go ahead and do them both, and it doesn't matter which one we do, but if we think about what's going to be easiest, look at how I drew my sine graph. I just naturally draw the positive sign, the not reflected one. So naturally, I would choose from here to here. So I'm going to get the equation for this graph. And then before this problem is over, I'll tell you the other equation. So if I fill in my box up here, this is kind of just beneficial to you. So we're doing a sine, Our vertical shift. So your vertical shift is how far up and down your sinusoidal axis goes, but you don't really see a sinusoidal axis. It's because it's on this x-axis. So that means we didn't shift any up or down. The horizontal shift, it does look like from where I'm choosing to start that I moved this distance. So this is left 120. I am in degrees. I chose a non-reflected sign, so that's why my shape looks like that. My amplitude is, I went 12 up and I went 12 down, so the amplitude is 12. Now, the period, well, just like when we graph it, we have to do 360 divided by or 2 pi divided by. That's because typically you're given the equation, and if you're finding the period, you say, well, that's equal to, since this problem is in degrees, I'll just talk about the degrees. The period is equal to 360 over b. Let me just write this out really quickly. K plus A trig b theta minus h. So what I'm looking for is this b value right here. Well, if you're looking for the b value, all we really have to do is, if you cross multiply really quickly, you can say, well, the period times b equals 360, and get b by itself by dividing by the period. So b is equal to 360 over the period. So my point in all this is, just like when you get the equation, you have to do 360 divided by, you have to do that also when you're finding the b value. And it's because they are inversely related. They're not directly related, so you have to divide. So what is my period? So look at what we highlighted. This is why it's really beneficial for you to highlight your graph that you're using, so you can see, well, according to where I chose to start, and at the end of that period, I know I kind of typed or wrote over this, but this says 360. So from where I started at negative 120 to where I ended at 360, that represents a period. So if you go to positive, this is going to be 120 plus 360 more, so my period is 480. So in order to find the b value, I'm going to do 360 divided by that. So 36 over 48, both divide by 12, is 3/4. So my b is 3/4. That's what's going to go right here. And this box is just staying consistent with how we did it, but we don't really need the critical points. That's what we use to graph it, but we don't need that. This box is just for your benefit. All right, so I have everything I need. My equation is, I guess I'll use black. Okay, so y equals, k is the vertical distance, or vertical shift, so that was 0. If you want to write 0, I'm perfectly fine with that. According to this, I did not reflect, so that's plus. Amplitude is 12. The trig is sine. My b value is 3/4. Theta, because we're in degrees. And then I went left, so that's a plus 120. So this is this first equation. Now, before we go on to the next example, let's say that I had chosen this one instead. Think about how this is going to change. Only two things really change. My horizontal starting position will change, and then also the fact that it's reflected. But your vertical shift didn't change, your amplitude didn't change, it's still sine, your period didn't change. So it's really not that hard to get the next equation. This blue equation, I'm going to reflect it, and I'm going to say, well, now I'm gone left, that says 360. So y equals 0 minus 12 sine 3/4 theta plus 360 still. So once again, what's changed is because I reflected it's here, and I went left 360. All right, our domain is all real numbers, negative infinity to infinity, and our range, bottom is negative 12 to top is 12. Our vertical distance, you can either think of this as double the amplitude, or you can just look at your numbers. From negative 12 to positive 12, this represents vertical distance. So that's 24. All right, let's go on and do some more. All right, so it says to use a cosine. Once again, you can pick whichever one you want to do. So let's make this one interesting, and let's do a negative one on purpose. So let's do this one right here. How I know that's negative is because that's going to be an upside down U shape. You know it's got to be a U because you're doing cosine, but if I choose an upside down U shape, it's going to be negative. So we already know the cosine's trig. I'm sorry, the trig is cosine. Your vertical shift is the sinusoidal axis, so that's landing on the 8 here. My horizontal shift, that was a 45 before I wrote over it, so left 45. I chose to reflect, remember, so that's why I'm upside down. My amplitude from 8 to 18 is 10. Go ahead and do a quick check. Is 8 minus 10, is that correct? 8 minus 10 is in fact negative 2. Those should match. I don't know why I put minus. Our amplitude is 10. Our period from here to here. So if this is negative 45 and this is negative 5, that's 40 away. Well, that's good and fine, but that 40 is not what belongs in the equation. Let's see, I see an x here. So this is in radians. So 2 pi over 40 is pi over 20. This is what's going to go in the equation. So that's the b value. And who cares about the critical points, because that's not what's important right now. All right, so we have y equals vertical shift is positive 8. I do reflect. Amplitude is 10. Cosine, pi over 20. X plus 45. Okay, my domain is all reals. Range is negative 2 to 18. Oops, that's a bracket. And if I double the amplitude, I get 20 for my vertical distance. All right, now let's use sine. So if I do a sine, I could do right here, or I could do right here. So it doesn't matter. Let's do, I don't know, I've already done a couple of negatives, so let's do a positive. So you can see if you can do this one. Go ahead and pause it and I'll write out the answer. So y equals 7 plus 4 sine 3 theta plus 20. domain is all reals, range is 3 to 11, vertical distance is 8. Oh, and that's it.